Vande Matram to all. With a heart full of gratitude, I extend a warm welcome to our guests, Mr. Anmol from Pondicherry, Dr. Vinod Solanki, and our respected principal, Ma'am Promini Chopra. Today marks a momentous occasion as we gather to commemorate the first anniversary of the enshrinement of Sri Aurobindo's relics. We chose April 4th as the day for the enshrinement, as this day holds significant importance in the life of Sri Aurobindo, as it was on the 4th of April in the year 1910 that Sri Aurobindo withdrew from active public life and retreated to Pondicherry, seeking solitude and a deeper connection with the divine, entering into seclusion for spiritual sadhana and inner transformation. The enshrinement of his relics symbolizes not only our reverence for his physical presence, but also our commitment to carrying forward his message of peace, harmony, and transformation. It serves as a reminder of the eternal presence of his spirit, guiding us on our own spiritual journeys. We commemorate the occasion with the recital of Savitri Canto 1 of Book 1. Canto 1 of Book 1 of Savitri by Sri Aurobindo introduces us to the main characters and themes of the poem. The essence of Canto 1 lies in its portrayal of the cosmic forces at play, the struggle between light and darkness, and the eternal quest for truth and transformation. At its core, Canto 1 explores the cosmic genesis, depicting the birth of the universe and the emergence of consciousness. It delves into the divine plan unfolding through the ages as embodied by the characters of Savitri and Satyavan. Savitri, the protagonist, embodies the divine feminine principle, representing wisdom, love, and the transformative power of consciousness. Satyavan symbolizes humanity, caught in a cycle of life and death, seeking enlightenment and liberation. The canto sets the stage for Savitri's journey, her encounter with destiny, and her ultimate quest to conquer death itself. It lays the foundation for the profound spiritual truths and revelations that unfold throughout the epic poem. In essence, Canto 1 of Savitri invites readers to embark on a spiritual odyssey, exploring the depths of human existence and the transcendent reality beyond. It speaks to the eternal quest for self discovery, enlightenment, and the realization of the divine consciousness. So let us embark on this spiritual journey together.
It was the hour before the gods awake. Across the path of the divine event, the huge foreboding mind of night, alone in her unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched, immobile upon silence march.
Almost one felt opaque, impenetrable, in the somber symbol of her eyeless muse, the abysm of the unbodied infinite, a fathomless zero occupied the world.
A power of fallen, boundless self awake between the first and the last nothingness, recalling the tenebrous womb from which it came, turned from the insoluble mystery of birth and the tardy process of mortality, and longed to reach its end in vacant naught.
As in a dark beginning of all things, a mute, featureless semblance of the unknown, repeating forever the unconscious act, prolonging forever the unseen will, cradled the cosmic drowse of ignorant force, whose moved, creative slumber kindles the suns and carries our lives in its somnambulist world.
Athwart the vain, enormous trance of space, its formless stupor without mind or life, a shadow spinning through a soulless void, thrown back once more into unthinking dreams. Earth wheeled, abandoned in the hollow gulfs, forgetful of her spirit and her fate.
The impassive skies were neutral, empty, still. Then something in the inscrutable darkness stirred. a nameless movement, an unthought idea, insistent, dissatisfied, without a name, something that wished but knew not how to be, teased the inconscient to wake ignorance.
A throe that came and left a quivering trace, gave room for an old tired want unfilled. At peace in its subconscious moonless cave, to raise its head and look for absent light, straining closed eyes of vanished memory, like one who searches for a bygone self and only meets the corpse of his desire.
It was as though, even in this knots profound, even in this ultimate dissolution's core, there lurked an unremembering entity, survivor of a slain and buried past, condemned to resume the effort and the pang, reviving in another frustrated world.
An unshaped consciousness desired light, and a black prescience yearned towards a distant change, as if a childlike finger laid on a cheek, reminded of the endless need in things, the heedless mother of the universe. An infant, longing, clutched the somber vast.
Insensibly
Somewhere a breach began, a long lone line of hesitating hue, like a vague smile tempting a desert heart,
trouble
the far rim of life's obscure sleep.
A rite from the other side of boundlessness. An eye of deity peered through the dumb deeps, a scout in a reconnaissance from the sun. It seemed amid a heavy cosmic rest, the torpor of a sick and weary world, to seek for spirit, soul, and desolate, too fallen to recollect forgotten bliss.
intervening in a mindless universe, its message crept through the reluctant hush, calling the adventure of consciousness and joy, and conquering nature's disillusioned breast, compelled renewed consent to see and feel.
A thought was sown in the unsounded void. A sense was born within the darkness depths.
A memory quivered in the heart of time, as if a soul long dead were moved to live. But the oblivion that succeeds the fall had blotted the crowded tablets of the past, and all that was destroyed must be rebuilt, and old experience labored out once more.
All can be done if the God touch is there, a hope stole in that, hardly dared to be, amid the night's forlorn indifference.
As if solicited in an alien world, with timid and hazardous instinctive grace, orphaned and driven out to seek a home, an errant marvel with no place to live. Into a far-off nook of heaven there came a slow, miraculous gesture's dim appeal.
A persistent thrill of transfiguring touch persuaded the inert black quietude, and beauty and wonder disturbed the fields of God. A wandering hand of pale, enchanted light that glowed along a fading moment's brink. Fixed with gold panel and opalescent hinge, a gate of dreams ajar on mystery's verge.
One lucent corner, windowing hidden things, forced the world's blind immensity to sight. The darkness failed and slipped, like a falling cloak, from the reclining body of God.
Then, through the pallid rift that seemed at first hardly enough for a trickle from the suns, outpoured the revelation and the flame.
The brief perpetual sign record above, a glamour from unreached transcendences, iridescent with the glory of the unseen, a message from the unknown immortal light, ablaze upon the creation's quivering edge. Dawn built her aura of magnificent hues and buried its seeds of grandeur in the hours.
An instant's visitor the god had shown. On life's thin border, a while the vision stood, and bent over earth's pondering forehead curve,
interpreting a recondite beauty and bliss. In colors hieroglyphs of mystic sense, it wrote the lines of a significant myth, telling of a greatness of a spiritual dawns, a brilliant code penned with the skyfall page.
Almost that day, the epiphany was disclosed, of which our thoughts and hopes are signal flares. A lonely splendor from the invisible goal almost was flung on the opaque inane.
Once more, a tread perturbed the vacant vast. Infinity's center, a face of rapturous calm, parted the eternal lids that open heaven, a form from far beatitudes seemed to near.
Ambassadress twixt eternity and change, the omniscient goddess leaned across the breadths that wrap the fated journeys of the stars and saw the spaces ready for her feet. Once she half looked behind for her veiled son, then, thoughtful, went to her immortal work.
Earth felt the imperishable's passage close. The waking ear of nature heard her steps, and wideness turned to her its limitless eye, and scattered on sealed depths her luminous smile kindled to fire the silence of the worlds. All grew a consecration and a rite.
It was a vibrant link between earth and heaven, the wide-winged hymn of a great priestly wind arose and failed upon the altar hills. The high boughs prayed in a revealing sky.
Here, where our half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs, on the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth. Here, where one knows not even the step in front, and truth has her throne on the shadowy back of doubt. On this anguished and precarious field of toil, outspread beneath some large indifferent gaze, impartial witness of our joy and bale, our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray.
Here too, the vision and prophetic gleam lit into miracles, common, meaningless shapes. Then the divine afflatus spent, withdrew, unwanted, fading from the mortal's range.
A sacred yearning lingered in its trace, the worship of a presence and a power too perfect to be held by death-bound hearts, the prescience of a marvelous birth to come.
Only a little, the God light can stay. Spiritual beauty illumining human sight. Lines with its own passion and mystery matters much, and squanders eternity on a beat of time.
As when a soul draws near the cell of birth, adjoining mortal time to timelessness, a spark of deity lost in matter's script, its luster vanishes in the inconstant plains. The transitory glow of magic fire, so now dissolved in bright accustomed air.
The message ceased and waned the messenger. The single call, the uncompanioned power, drew back into some far-off secret world. The hue and marvel of the supernal beam, she looked no more on our mortality.
The excess of beauty, natural to God-kind, could not uphold its claim on time-born eyes. Too mystic real for space tenancy, her body of glory was expunged from heaven. The rarity and wonder lived no more. There was the common light of earthly day.
Affranchised from the respite of fatigue, once more the rumor of the speed of life pursued the cycles of a blinded quest.
All sprang to
Their unvarying daily acts, the thousand peoples of the soil and tree obeyed the unforeseeing instant's urge. And leader here with his uncertain mind, alone who stares at the future's covered face, man lifted up the burden of his fate.
And Savitri too awoke among these tribes that hastened to join the billion summoners chant, and lured by the beauty of the apparent ways, acclaim their portion of ephemeral joy.
Akin to eternity, whence she came, no part she took in small happiness. A mighty stranger in the human field, the embodied guest within made no response.
The call that wakes the leap of human mind, its checkered, eager motion of pursuit, its fluttering hued illusion of desire, visited her heart like a sweet alien note. Time's message of brief light was not for her.
In her, there was the anguish of the gods, imprisoned in our transient human mold, the deathless, conquered by the death of things.
A vaster nature's joy had once been hers, but long could keep not its cold heavenly hue, or stand upon this brittle earthly base.
A narrow movement on time's deep abysm, life's fragile littleness denied the power, the crowned in conscious wideness and the bliss that she had brought with her into the human form. the calm delight that weds one soul to all, the key to the flaming doors of ecstasy.
Earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears, rejected the undying rapture's boon, offered to the daughter of infinity. Her passion flower of love and doom she gave. In vain now seemed the splendid sacrifice.
Prodigal of her rich divinity, herself and all she was, she had lent to men, hoping her greater being to implant and in their bodies' lives acclimatize that heaven might native grow on mortal soil.
How is it to persuade earth nature's change? Mortality bears ill the eternal's touch. It fears the pure divine intolerance of that assault of ether and of fire. It murmurs at its sorrowless happiness. Almost with hate repels the light it brings. It trembles at its naked power of truth and the might and sweetness of its absolute voice.
Inflicting on the heights the abysm's law. It sullies with its mire heaven's messengers. Its thorns of fallen nature are the defense. It turns against the Savior hands of grace. It meets the sons of God with death and pain.
Glory of lightnings traversing the earth's scene, their sun thoughts fading, darkened by ignorant minds, their work betrayed, their good to evil turned, the cross their payment for the crown they gave, only they leave behind us a splendid name.
A fire has come and touched men's hearts and gone. A few have caught flame and risen to greater life.
Too unlike the world, she came to help and save. Her greatness weighed upon its ignorant breast, and from its dim chasms welled a dire return. A portion of its sorrow struggle fall.
To live with grief, to confront death on her road, the mortal's lot became the immortal share.
Thus trapped in the
Chain of earthly destinies, awaiting her ordeals are abode. Outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting
lives of terrestrial robes,
hiding herself even from those she loved. The Godhead greater by human fate.
A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was, the star and stay, too great to impart from the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come.
As one who, watching over men left blind, takes up the load of an unwitting race, harboring a foe whom with her heart she must feed. Unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced, unhelped she must foresee and dread and dare. The long foreknown and the fatal morn was here, bringing a noon that seemed like every noon.
For nature walks upon her mighty way, unheeding when she breaks a soul alive, leaving her slain behind. She travels on, man only marks, and God's all-seeing eyes.
Even in this moment of her soul's despair, in its grim rendezvous with death and fear, no cry broke from her lips, no call for aid. She told the secret of her woe to none. Calm was her face, and courage kept her mute.
Yet only her outward self suffered and strove. Even her humanity was half divine. Her spirit open to the spirit in all. Her nature felt all nature as its own.
Apart, living within, all life she bore. Aloof, she carried in herself the world. Her dread was one with the great cosmic dreads. Her strength was founded on the cosmic might. The universal mother's love was hers.
Against the evil at life's afflicting roots, her own calamity its private sign.
Of her
pangs she made a mystic poignant sword, a solitary mind, a worldwide heart, to the lone, immortal, unfed work she rose. At first, life grieved, not in her burdened breast, on the lap of earth's original somnolence, inert, released into forgetfulness. Prone it reposed, unconscious on mind's verge, obtuse and tranquil like the stone and star.
In a deep cleft of silence, twixt two realms, she lay, remote from grief, unsown by care,
nothing recalling of the sorrow here.
Then a slow, faint shadow like remembrance moved, and sighing she laid her hands upon her bosom, and recognized the close and lingering ache, deep, quiet, old, made natural to its place, but knew not why it was there and whence it came. The power that kindles the mind was still withdrawn. Heavy, unwilling, were like servitors, like workers with no wages of delight. Sullen, the torch of sense refused to burn. The unassisted brain found not its past. Only a vague earth nature held the frame, but now she stirred. Her life shared the cosmic load, and the summons of her body's voiceless call. Her strong, fire-winning spirit traveled back to the yoke of ignorance and fate, back to the labor and stress of mortal days, lighting a pathway through strange symbol dreams, across the ebbing of the seas of sleep. Her house of nature felt an unseen sway, illumined swiftly were life's darkened rooms, and memory's casements opened on the hours, and the tired field of thought approached her doors. All came back to her, earth and love and doom. The ancient disputants encircled her like giant figures wrestling in the night. The godheads from the dim, inconscient born awoke to struggle and the fang divine, and in the shadow of her flaming heart, at the somber center of the dire debate,
Guardian of the unconsoled abyss, inheriting the long agony of the globe, a stone still figure of high and godlike pain, stared into space with fixed, regardless eyes that saw grief's timeless depths, but not life's goal.
afflicted by his harsh divinity. Bound to his throne, he waited unappeased. The daily oblations of her unwept tears, all the fierce questions of man's hours relived.
The sacrifice of suffering and desire, earth offers to the immortal ecstasy, began again beneath the eternal hand.
Awake, she endured the moment's serried march, and looked on this green, smiling, dangerous world, and heard the ignorant cry of living things.
Amid the trivial sounds, the unchanging scene, her soul arose, confronting time and fate. Immobile in herself, she gathered force. This was the day when Satyavan must die.
Now, with great delight, I would like to invite Mr. Anmol, who has come all the way from Pondicherry to be with us today, showing his immense love and respect for Sri Aurobindo that truly resonates with us all. Sir, I invite you to please enlighten us with your gracious words.
See, today in 1910, Sri Aurobindo landed in Pondicherry. It's a momentous day in the Earth's history. Before he went there, the sole aim of his life, the main purpose of his life was the liberation of Mother India. From the time he was in England at the age of around 17 or 18, when his father started sending him newspaper cuttings from Indian newspapers, telling him of the atrocities that the British were committing here. And, you know, in young Aurobindo's heart and mind, the resolution was made for the freedom of India. He thought of nothing else except that. He worked for nothing else except that. He was himself, a teacher in a college in Baroda. He was a vice principal. He was an acting principal for some time. Then he gave all that up and he joined the nationalist movement in Bengal. In fact, he was the leader of the nationalist movement in Bengal. Then one wonders actually, today's date is that significant date. He left Bengal on 1st April and he arrived in Pondicherry at around 4:30 in the afternoon in 1910 on today's date. What is it that made him take that decision? The simple answer is, in his own words, it was Shri Krishna's Adesh, I had to obey. Why was that Adesh given? And how do you connect it? That somebody who was leading the nationalist movement with such fervor. I came to this school last time in 2018 and I had given a talk. It was the first spiritual retreat. I had given a talk on Sri Aurobindo's life. That was the opening session. Happily, this time, since morning, I've been seeing the greeting here is Bande Mataram. This is one of the things which he had popularized. His newspaper was called Bande Mataram. So what is it that made him give up his eminence and his leadership as a nationalist leader and retire to Pondicherry, as somebody said? It was a retirement, yes. It was a retirement for a very concentrated form of tapasya. The answer to the question is, it's there in your logo. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, from darkness to light. So Sri Krishna assured him that what you have started here in Bengal, and Bande Mataram was read as far as Lahore, let me tell you the facts. This will reach its logical conclusion. Nobody can stop the freedom of India from coming now. And it's only when he had this assurance from Sri Krishna himself, with whose voice he was so familiar. See, I'm speaking my heart, I'm allowed to speak, so I'm taking the opportunity. He says, in a voice with which a well-known voice, you can find this in volume 36 of his works, in a well-known voice. That is how familiar he was with Sri Krishna. He used to hear it above the head so clearly. Like, I would hear my mother's voice or my friend's voice like that. The task that was given to him to go to Pondicherry, the reason why he was asked to go there and concentrate on his yoga was, now you have to liberate humanity from ignorance. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, from the darkness in which human consciousness suffers, to the plenary and integral light, as you may call it. Was it not done before? Well, for that you have to go into the history of the Indian culture and even read the Vedas. There is a famous shloka from the Isha Upanishad, made famous by the Upanishad Ganga serial. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham. Tattvam pushan napavranu satya dharmaya drishtaye. The face of the truth is covered by a golden lid. That thou remove, O fosterer, for truth, for light. Satya dharmaya, for the law of truth. Drishtaye, for light. Right? So it is this golden lid which separates the ignorance from the knowledge, to remove that and basically to flood the earth with knowledge, to establish the divine omniscience on earth. That was his life's mission. You may have heard the word supramental. That is a term that he coined. He would say that, my aim is to bring down the supramental into the earth's consciousness. Supramental, at our level, let's say we can say it's perfect knowledge. You're all students. Your primary aim in life now, at least at the mental level, should be to aim for a complete knowledge. A knowledge which escapes nothing. Right? There is no better intellect, I'm just saying intellect right now, than Sri Aurobindo, which can lead you towards that if you dive deep into his books. Right? So, 4th of April 1910 basically marks the liberation of humanity from ignorance. The tapasya, the yoga that he was going to do, it would lead to the flooding of the earth with that complete divine light and knowledge. There's a date for that, 29 February 1956. As some of you may get older, may get more interested, leisure perhaps, you may delve further into his works and validate these things for yourself. Okay? Now as for Savitri. Mother says about Savitri, among Sri Aurobindo's works, all the rest is preparation. Savitri is the message. He has written so many. There's almost 35, 36 volumes. Life Divine is there, Synthesis of Yoga, Essays on the Gita. Fantastic works. But remember this, all the rest is preparation. Savitri is the message. These are Mother's words. In intellectual terms, at least in terms of literature, in terms of intellectual help, Savitri is his greatest gift. It's not just intellectual. When you read it, it's also Mother's quotation, I'll quote her. Savitri is a mantra for the transformation of the world. We have a scholar in Pondicherry, Dr. Alok Pandey. He is fond of saying this, that just as in the Indian tradition we believe that the mere reading of the Bhagavat Puran, we have this tradition, sometimes some of you may be aware, that you read it for a week. There is this story in the Bhagavat Puran wherein it is read for a week, and on each day of the reading, one of the chakras opens. And by the time the week is complete, the person who was trapped in the dark human consciousness, he assumes the form of Vishnu and ascends to Vaikuntha, right? So just as the mere reading of Bhagavat Puran is said to be liberative, mukti. Mukti is not the final aim. Why are we here in the first place? We are mukta. We are all souls who are free. And we are free. We are eternally free. There is a reason why we are here. That reason is obviously to transform this earth into a heaven. So I'll just complete the phrase. Just as the mere reading of Bhagavat is liberative in nature, similarly, the mere reading of Savitri is transformative. Just remember this. Just as the mere reading of Bhagavat is liberative, merely the reading of Savitri, of course you should understand. Not that you should not understand or try to understand. Of course you should. But it has such a power. Sri Aurobindo has packed so much into it that if you just devote yourself to reading Savitri, you will find that it will transform you. When you read it, you will see it for yourself that the wrong things in your mind, the wrong ideas, the wrong feelings, feelings of jealousy, revenge, etc., you will see that they are being corrected, that nature is being transformed. There's this beautiful line in Savitri, gods are still too few in mortal forms. It's actually Sri Aurobindo's complaint to us. Gods are still too few in mortal forms. The aim of Savitri is to make us rise to that divine consciousness, that consciousness of the gods. There's a talk of the mother on Savitri in which she has told about its greatness. I'll just read a few lines from that. Please listen to it carefully. Those who have not heard this earlier, for them it can even be life-changing. This is something so inspiring. This is from a conversation of the mother with a disciple. Mother says, "Do you read Savitri?" "Yes, mother," says the disciple. "You've read the whole of it?" "Yes, mother, I have read it twice." "Have you understood all that you have read?" "Not much, but I like poetry. That is why I read it." Then she says, "It does not matter if you do not understand Savitri. Read it always. You will see that every time you read it, something new will be revealed to you. Each time you will get a new glimpse, each time a new experience. Things which were not there, things which you did not understand, arise and suddenly become clear. Always an unexpected vision comes up through the words and the lines. Every time you try to read and understand, you will see that something is added. Something which was hidden behind is revealed clearly and vividly. I tell you, the very verses you have read once before will appear to you in a different light each time you reread them. This is what happens invariably. Always your experience is enriched. It is a revelation at each step. But you must not read it as you read other books or newspapers. You must read it with an empty head, a blank and vacant mind. Without there being any other thought, you must concentrate much, remain empty, calm and open. Then the words, the rhythms, the vibrations will penetrate directly to this white page, will put their stamp upon the brain, will explain themselves without your making an effort. Now, she says something incredible. Savitri alone is sufficient to make you climb to the highest peaks. If truly one knows how to meditate on Savitri, one will receive all the help one needs. For one who wishes to follow this path, it is a visible help, as though the Lord himself were taking you by the hand and leading you to the destined goal. And then every question, however personal it may be, has its answer here. Every difficulty finds here its solution. Indeed, there is everything that is necessary for doing the yoga. He has crammed the whole universe in a single book. It is a marvelous work, magnificent, and of an incomparable perfection. And it goes on like this. Please read this. If I complete it, it might take maybe 10 minutes more, perhaps. So I'll just finish with one of my favorite passages from Savitri, a promise of the divine to us. Alive in a dead rotating universe, we whirl not here upon a casual globe, abandoned to a task beyond our force. Even through the tangled anarchy called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and births. In its unslackening grasp, it keeps for us safe the one inevitable supreme result no will can take away and no doom change. The crown of conscious immortality, the Godhead, promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your captivating words. We now invite the very graceful lady, Dr. Vinod Solanki, who took the initiative to introduce us all to the marvelous epic of Savitri by Sri Aurobindo. It was due to this introduction that we all developed a keen interest for this legend of Savitri and volunteered to participate in this recitation. Ma'am, we are truly grateful to have you here with us today. With a huge round of applause, I request the audience to welcome Dr. Vinod Solanki on stage to address the gathering.
The musical, rhythmic, rapturous, overpowering recitation of Savitri by students of some young age, probably class 8 to 12. I'm really overwhelmed, and I feel that all of us today have been initiated by Sri Aurobindo. This auditorium has become a holy place for all of us, vibrant with the love for humanity which Sri Aurobindo cherished in his heart and gave us as a boon in the form of Savitri. I cannot speak more. It's simply unspeakable. All can be done if the God touch is there. And 7 stars to very respected dear Pramani ma'am and his team, how they conceived the very idea and organized it so well to manage the participation of so many students for such a beautiful, memorable recitation. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link a man's strength to a transcendent force. एक अंतर उद्भूत प्रार्थना, एक सिद्ध कर्म, एक सर्वोपरि विचार कर सकता है मानव बल का परात्पर की शक्ति से लग्नाचार. We have to proceed further, forward. Sri Aurobindo writes, and never can the mighty traveler rest, and never can the mystic voyage cease. This journey is the journey of a mystic. It has never to cease, and never can the mystic voyage cease. A greater world, time's traveler must explore. Vande Mataram.
Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening words. This Savitri recitation session has truly been an extremely transformative one. I am sure that this has left a profound impact on our beings that we will cherish for a long time to come. As Sir mentioned, Savitri alone is capable of making you reach the highest of peaks. And that is a thought that we must keep in mind as we leave this auditorium today. With this, we come to a wonderful end of this wonderful session. Thank you. We would like for all of you to experience 1 minute silence.